Today I've built this Gothic Mansion in ARK Survival Ascended on Ragnarok using the Gothic Craft Structure Skins. They offer the perfect Gothic vibe with awesome little statues everywhere, a lot of cool 3D textures including some awesome windows, arches, etc. All the things that we need for a proper Gothic build, which is what I tried to do in this mansion that I designed. So if you're looking for a cool Gothic base for your ARK playthrough, whether you want to embrace the Gothic theme of Lost Colony or just want to live in this beautiful medieval Gothic house somewhere else, it should offer you a decent amount of space on the outside with these beautiful arches to maybe park some tames temporarily in between your adventures, but also the inside offers a few different rooms that you could use for all of your ARK needs. A little bit of breeding in the inside, or of course all of your crafting and storage needs. You can all do it from the comfort of this beautiful Gothic mansion. Hello there survivors, and welcome back to another build tutorial here in ARK Survival Ascended. As always, I really hope that you enjoy what you see here. I had a lot of fun designing this using the Gothic Craft Structure Skins, which is a new premium custom cosmetic, but in my opinion it's well worth it for all of the awesome pieces that it offers, including a lot of cool 3D pieces which add a lot of incredible details to your ARK builds. As always, if you enjoy seeing these types of videos, these step-by-step tutorials, and you want to continue to see more, make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and feel free to leave your suggestions for future builds you'd really like to see down in the comments below. Okay, as usual, of course, we're going to start out by placing down the foundation. So we want to start with the length of the building, which is going to be 12. So we're just going to keep this one going until we have a 12 long foundation, and then we're going to make it 6 wide to begin with. That's going to be the shape for the main part of the building, the main mansion itself. So for now we want to just make sure that we get all that on the ground here, and then of course we can also fill in the entirety of the foundation just to make sure that we'll have all the support that we need. So yeah, we just want to keep going round and round and round to fill in the shape that we've just made. And then we want to decide where the front of the building is going to be. In my case, that's going to be this side. What we're going to do then, we're going to go in by 2 here on the side. We add 2 foundations and we'll expand it by 2 more. Bring this all the way across the front. So basically adding a 2 wide pathway in front of the building all the way over to the other side, and then here again we also want to make sure that we go in 2 further next to the building, and that's going to be our nice kind of like front porch to walk around on. That's not quite it though. We want to go from the corner here on the front, and we want to count 4 foundations before we can place another one, and we want to do the exact same thing here on the opposite side. 4 foundations before we place another one, which leaves another gap of 4 right here in the middle, and that's the shape that we'll need for the entirety of this mansion. Then we'll just add a few ways up to this. So we'll have some stairs right here in the middle so that you have a way to get into the front door, but we also want to have some stairs here off to the side. I like to use the curving staircase, just a little bit nicer, but you can also use the normal stairs if you prefer those. But there we go, we have a few ways to get onto our foundations, and then it's time to shape up the mansion itself a little bit with a bunch of dino gates and pillars. Okay, first of all, we'll start here at the back with some pillars. We want to raise up these pillars to be 6 high in total, and of course we can also expand them back down into the building, and we can do the same thing over here. So again, raise up this pillar to be 6 high in total. Then here on the front, that means that we want this pillar here, so this corner, so not the extension we built for the front building. So 6 from the pillar at the back, and again we want to raise the pillar up to be 6 high in total. Then over here on this corner we're going to also add in a pillar, but for now we're just going to make that 4 high. We're going to do something a little bit different and a little bit more special over here. And then here in the middle, we also want to add a pillar right there. We can also make this 6 high and of course expand it back down onto the ground. And we can do the exact same thing right over here raise up that pillar all the way to be 6 high. Then we'll once again start here at the back. We want to place a gateway right over here, and we can do another gateway right over there on the opposite side to give our windows a little bit more shape already. Then over here we want to place one right in the middle between the pillars. So 2 from that pillar, 2 from the other pillar. Then here we can kind of mirror what we did on the back. So we want to have a window here or a gateway there. We can do the same thing right over here, and we can have another gateway in the middle on this side. That's not all though. We also want to make sure that we add in a gate right here in the middle, which is going to be our main entrance into the base. Then off to the side here, we want to add 2 gateways like this and 2 more right over there at the corner. And we can do the same thing here on the opposite end. We can just add in a few of these gateways to shape up the building quite a bit already. We can also add a few gates here on the inside. First of all, we want to add one right here to the left. So from this main entrance, we go to the left and we make sure that we have basically this little gap 1 by 1 before we add a gateway into a side room, which will be right over there. And then over here on this side, we actually also want to add another gateway, which will lead to the staircase, which we can place 2 away from the window at the back of our building. That's going to just be helpful when we get to the interior. For now, however, we'll focus a little bit more on the back. So we want to take out a large wall. We can place one right here, one right next to it, and another one here and right there to already shape up the back of the building a little bit. And then of course we can add in the actual gates into these gate frames too. We can fill in the top here with our full walls just like this, just to shape it up a little bit more. We can have 2 more large walls right here, and then we actually want to start filling in this a little bit like so. Add 1 more layer on top of that, and for the top layer we want to have some quarter walls on both ends first. We want to add a window and of course the actual window to it. Then we can add some more window frames. We want to have 1 here, leave a gap of 1, add 2, another gap of 1, add another 2, another gap, and then add 2, and then another one right here. So this is the pattern that we want to follow, and in between we can add in some normal walls. We can of course add in the windows to each of these sections, and then it's time to give a little bit more meaning and shape to what we have placed down. So we want to take out our castle skins, and we can skin the pillar here on the corner, not actually the large wall, and we can also skin the foundations down below just to get a little bit of the proper color in there. We can also skin this pillar going all the way up, of course, and we can skin these right above the gates. We can do the same over here, and we can skin these 6 right here in the middle, including these quarter ones and this little window right there. Then we want to change the variance. Normally, of course, you do this by interacting with the skin and changing the variance right there. I'm using the variance cycle tool just because it saves me a little bit of time. As you can see, it goes through the variance a little bit quicker. So we want to go for the round window, and then you can go for the normal glass, or you can even add a bit of stained glass, whatever you prefer. Then we want to take out the castle trim skin, and we want to skin the gate and the gateway just so that we can turn that into a beautiful window. So again, we're going to go through all of the variants until you get the one that blends in perfectly with the rest of the wall. That's the easiest version to use. You can use any of the other walls, but you might have to do a little bit more clipping here with some slope walls to make sure that there's no gaps between the gate and the rest of the wall that we've built, which I'm not entirely sure is possible on official settings, so that's why I'm leaving it out for the tutorial. Then we want to take out the courtyard stone skins, and we can actually skin this layer here at the top, which you will see will set it apart a little bit and will feature as a nice detail accent before the wall here. And we also want to change these variants until one of these stone options, because that just looks like some lovely detail here on the side of our building. There we go. Then once again, we can take out the castle trim skins. We want to add them on the large walls, and we can see some magic unfold as we get some proper supports here for the back of our building, adding in a lot of depth without any effort, which is really a magical addition and perfect for these Gothic type of builds. Then we can go to the inside here of the building. We want to actually start over here by adding in some stairs, and we can go up by 2, so a 2 by 2 before we make a little middle bit here where we can have another 2 by 2 for the floor, and then we can continue to raise up these stairs all the way until they meet the top line here. So this is going to be a staircase up to the next layer, and we can skin these all with all castle skins, just so that we have already a little bit of a way up and down the building, which of course will help us a lot in the future. There's quite a few nice variants for these stairs, as you can see, so you can add a little bit of carpet in if you would like, and you can even add the carpet here on top of these ceilings too, to really make the most out of it. And now we're here on the inside anyway. We can do a little bit more interior structure before we continue with the outside. We can add a pillar right here, so one from that gate, which should meet up with the staircase here, and we can make sure to make it 5 tall. We can then also start adding in a few of the walls here for the interior. So we want to have 2 large walls next to this gate. We can then use our slope walls right above that gateway. We can also add a few more of these large walls over here, so we can continue that until the next gate frame, and then one more right next to it, and some more of these slope walls right above the gate itself. Then we can take out our full stone walls and add one more layer all the way on the top here, which should meet up with those pillars and should complete these interior walls. One more thing that we do want to add is right over here. We want to add a few more of these slope walls just for a little bit more interior decoration. You can of course change all of these foundations to the castle skins, and you can play around with the variants here on the inside. So you can basically decide for each room what kind of flooring you would have. Do not change the skins on the outside foundations in the front yet. This will just help to set the two apart a little bit more and give you a little bit more of an idea of what the actual inside rooms are going to be. Then we'll go to this little room here underneath the staircase that we've already skinned, of course. We want to use the castle trim skins right here to create a beautiful arch. We can use the castle skins here on the pillars all the way to the top to create that nice pillar skin. And then we want to change all of the large walls here also to these castle skins, so they blend in nicely. We can use the castle skins on the gateways themselves too. We actually want to use the trims here on these sloped walls above both of these gates. And then we can use the courtyard stone skins on top of this final layer of the wall. There we go. Then we want to change the variants above the gates so that they are a little bit taller, as you can see. So there's no visual gaps anymore. Just makes a little bit more sense. There we go. And that gives you the internal rooms and the staircase up to the top. For the final bit of the staircase, we want to add our slope walls here, and then finally a normal wall there. Of course, the top layers we're going to change differently. So the castle skin on this one, and then the courtyard stone skins on the top ones, just to finish that layer. And then we have, well, the interior for the bottom floor at least completely ready, and we can start to focus on the remaining walls here on the outside and build up the rest of our mansion. Then here on this side, of course, we want to add in the actual gate itself. We can add 2 large walls over here and 2 of them on the opposite side too. Then we can have some normal walls above the entrance. We can have some windows in the corners here, and then finally just some normal walls in between. Add in the windows themselves, of course, and then we can start changing it with the courtyard stone skins for the top layer, of course. Change the actual inside of these windows so they look like the stone versions. Then we can use the castle trim skins here on the gate and the gate frame. Change the gate frame until we get the window that blends in with the rest of the wall, and then change the remaining wall pieces to the castle skins so that we have another nice looking wall here. We can also change, of course, this pillar here on the corner just so that it blends in with the rest of the structure we've built so far. And then we can go to the opposite side. Once again here, we want to fill in the gateway. We want to take out our large walls, have 2 of them right here, 2 more right next to it, have our normal walls right above it, another layer of normal walls except for the corners, windows in the corners, of course, adding in those actual windows, and then changing this top layer to the courtyard skins just like this. Change the inside to be the stone details too, and change this pillar to the castle skin all the way from top to bottom. We can change these walls, the walls above the gate and the walls to the side, of course, and the gate and the gateway itself we can change with the castle trim. We can change, of course, the gateway again until we get the window that blends in with the rest of the structure, and then we got another wall that is ready to go. Then for the front wall, of course, we want to add in the gates to all 3 of these. 2 of them, of course, are going to be windows, and the middle one here is going to be a door. We want to take out our large walls, add them right in between all of these gaps to make sure that we shape up the rest of the building. We can add our full walls here above this window. We can add our full walls right above that window, and of course we can add our slope walls right above the main entrance itself. Then we want to take out our window walls. We want to add 1 on the corner, leave a gap of 1, add another 1, do the same thing here on the opposite side. So 1 window here, gap of 1, and another 1 right next to it. Have normal walls in between those sections to fill up this entire layer. Add in the windows themselves to this layer too. Take out our courtyard skins. We can actually change the look of all of these right now, going all the way across from one side to the other, just like this. Change, of course, this little detail for all of these so that they're looking like the stone they need to be. Then we can take out our trim skin, change the gate and the gateway here. Do the same thing on the other side. Also, these above the main entrance. And then we can take out our castle skin, change the wall on the side, change the wall above the window, change all of these large walls and the normal walls, just like this. And then, of course, we can also use the castle skin here on the main entrance itself. You might want to change the variant. I love this one with the little gargoyles with the torches. Provides you some light too. Change these variants until you've got the taller one that will fill in the gaps. And of course, for the windows, we want to change until we have the window variant that blends in with the wall. And we will do the same thing here on the opposite side too. There we go. That already blends in a lot of the main building itself. Now we can continue here at the top of the staircase. We actually want to start filling in the entire layer here for the 2nd floor of our mansion. So basically we can just make sure that we fill up these ceilings along the top of the walls that we've already placed down, just so that we have our next floor. Of course, here we want to stop right there so that we have a gap for the staircase itself, and we can then fill in the remaining middle pieces here so that you have plenty of space to utilize. And of course, you can change these all again to the castle skins. We can add in some railings here along the edge so that you don't fall down the stairs. And again, we want to change this all probably to the castle skins. You can use any of the variants, including the nice carpet, to make sure that you've got a very nice looking floor up here with, and again, a pretty decent amount of space. And of course, this is going to make it a lot easier, especially in survival, to work on the next layer of the build. So for now, we'll just change these skins to begin with, but then We actually want to take out our ceilings again. We want to look at the pillar here and bring out our ceilings, just in front of these pillars to meet up with them. And we can do that in between these two pillars on the front of our building. And we can also change the skins of these ceilings just like that. And in fact, we can also change the skin of this entire pillar going down from the top to the bottom. And we'll do the same thing, of course, here for the other one, making sure that we change it all the way up to the top. Then it's time to focus a little bit here on the outside and especially the front entrance here. So what we want to do is take out our railings, add them here along the edges of the front of the building, all the way around, of course, except for the middle. So we can do the same thing over here to provide some safety. And we can actually change those to the castle skins, although I might want to change the variants on them. You can also definitely play around with changing them to any of the other skins if you want some spiked railings instead. But I think if we change them to the second versions of these, they look quite nice and they will blend in quite perfectly with the rest of the build. So we'll just go ahead and change all of these to these right variants. Then once again, we can take out the castle skins and we can actually start changing the skins of these gateways that we've placed around the front to create some of these beautiful arches that we've now come to know and love. Then we want to take out our ceilings again, and we want to be sure to just start above here, which is technically above the gateways, although the skins look a little bit taller. So 3 high, and we can place them just where we have the gates. So 2 more right around that corner. We can leave the middle open, and then here again, we want to make sure to add another layer of these ceilings just around the outside. Then we will take out the courtyard skins, and we can actually change this outside to look like these nice cobbled streets, which I really like for the outside, but also for your pathways and your streets if you're building a little town like I am. And we can also change the stairs themselves to these lovely textures. We can do the same thing here for all of these on the side, and you can decide what you want to do with these. I personally would also change them to that same look so that we have transformed the entire floor instantly with these new textures. Then we want to take out the castle trim skins, and we want to skin all of these ceilings. You'll see a bunch of spikes coming down instantly. Don't worry about that. We'll go and fix them in a moment. For now, we just want to make sure that we skin all of them, because these are going to help us shape up these walkways even more. We're going to want to change these variants, of course, so that they meet up with the structures above. So you just want to basically make sure they meet up with the right corners. There we go. And once you've completed that, we get a beautiful pattern like that, which is exactly what we want. You can see these awesome shapes taking place now. This is the kind of arches that we want. It's very iconic for these types of Gothic builds, of course, and it's amazing that they've added these pieces so easily into the cosmetic by just having them on ceilings, which means you can see them, but they don't have any hitboxes, which is really nice because you don't have to like build a bunch of difficult structures this way. And of course, we want to change that one too. And then we should have all of them in the right place. So we have these lovely arches supporting the general shape of this building. Then we want to go here towards the end. We want to take out our quarter walls, add 4 of them right here in the middle. And we can do the exact same thing here on the opposite side. So we start here with 2 and then 2 more off to the side. We can actually change them to the courtyard skins, so we want to make sure that we skin those right away. We can do the exact same thing here on the opposite side of the building. Then we can take out our slope walls, go to the shallow slope walls, and make sure that we add this pattern in. We can also, of course, change them to those courtyard skins. And if you don't like these double lines, you should be able to change these variants so that you only have one line left here at the very end. And of course, we want to do the exact same thing here on the opposite side, making sure that we get this shape in right away, and of course skin them again with the courtyard stone skins and change that variant so that it matches on both sides. Then we can actually take out our ramps, and we want to just bring up our ramps with 2 layers going into the building like this, all the way to the very end. And of course, here on the other side, we just want to make sure that we add 2 more, and then here at the very top we want to make sure that we have a railing. Then we can add in these skins, so we just want to add the castle skins for all of these ramps. We can then change all variants until we get the roof-like pieces, which will really add a nice bit of detail here on the front of the building. There we go. So we'll do that for this section first. We can do that, of course, also here on this side for these little bits. And we want to add a few more details here towards the end. So we want to have a pillar right there in the corner for both of these. And then if you really want to add all of the details, you want to have 2 little half beams there, a half beam here, another half beam over there. And that means that we can also have a full beam right here at the end. We can use the castle skins to change the looks of them, just so that it all blends together a little bit nicer like this. And we want to use the trim skin here at the very top. We want to go through all of these variants until we get to this one, so the second version of these spikes. Flip them around so that you have that nice spike sticking out the end, and just look at that. It's an awesome little bit of detail here. So now, of course, we want to replicate this effect on the other side as well. So we'll take out our ramps again, go all the way across, and start adding in this little roof for the front entrance, just like that. Add in the railing at the top, and of course, start adding in these skins again. So first of all, the castle skins on top of here. We can use the trim skin on the top of that, and then we can take out our pillars, of course, a pillar right there and one here. We can add a beam here at the back, and then finally we can have a half beam in these places to really fill it all in. The castle skin, of course, on these beams and pillars, the same right over there. And then we can change our variants again so that we get the nice looking roofs, but also so that we get these spikes here on the top, the second version, of course. And then you want to make sure that it has the thing sticking out on the end if it doesn't right away. There we go. We'll change these variants too, and that will get us quite a nice looking entrance already. But of course, we're not completely done just yet after we've done this, but it is definitely a very good start. As you can see, there's a lot more character for this entrance of the building right now already. Then here off to the side of the entrance, we actually want to add a few details in. So we want to have 4 walls coming down from the ceilings that we already placed. So we'll do the exact same thing here on the other side. And then we want to have our slope walls at the very bottom of these. We want to change the top layer here to the courtyard stone skins to match the same line we have everywhere else. We can use the castle skins on the next layer and the trim skins on this final layer here. And then we can change the variants, and I would personally go for this steeper arch with the gargoyle if you want some extra details, just so that it looks even better than before. And you will see some nice detailed entrances here to those side bits to walk around your build. Then it's time to build the front entrance, and first of all we want to have a large wall here in the corner for both sides, and then we want to bring across a layer of walls from one side to the other. We then want to have another wall right in these corners, use our slope walls here at the top as well as here at the bottom corners. Then we want to take out our pillars, add a thin pillar here and a thin pillar there, just to get us all started. Then what we want to do is bring out our castle skin, change these pillars first as well as these large walls, change all of the normal walls to the castle skin, then take out the trim skin for those slope walls, which will start adding in some details. We can change the variants here so that we have some nice statues on the ends of those. And then this one we want to change to the tall version, preferably of course with the little statue details too, just so that this entrance looks even cooler than it does already. Then we want to take out our artifact pedestal, and unfortunately we do not have a snap point because this is a foundation, but we want to place it roughly in the middle of them. If you're building on top of ceilings and pillars, having a little pillar or half pillar underneath it will allow you a snap point and make this a little bit easier. But then we want to change them to the decor skins. As you can see, you will get these spikes. We want to change those variants until we get the nice one with the light in it. These are great additions for on top of your roof, but I also have found them very useful for a little bit of decorations here in front of the entrance, as you can see. And there we go, we have a little bit of a fire in front of the entrance just to decorate it even more. So now it's time to look at the top here. We want to have two gateways right next to each other. We want to do the exact same thing over here at that side, and then finally two more over on that side. We can of course take out our gates themselves too and add them in to each and every one of these sides. Use the trim skins again to skin these, because again these are going to be some amazing looking windows, especially now that they're higher up the building, because if we keep changing these variants until the one that blends into the wall, you'll see the beautiful supports that are under these windows, adding instant details to your walls, which is absolutely amazing, of course. And that's exactly why we like using them so much, because they blend in so well with the structure, but also add a lot of depth that, well, honestly, you wouldn't really be able to do yourself, or you'll have to use all of deco boxes to add statues that way. But yeah, these details add a lot of depth right away to all of these layers. And before we continue anything else for the top layer of the building, we're actually going to add in a little tower right over here on the left corner of the building. So we want to add a ceiling right here. We'll skin it right away. We can add in two little quarter walls right next to it, change them to the courtyard skins, and have our shallow slope walls along the sides so that we can connect it to the top of this roof that we have. We want to of course change those skins all the way round, and then we want to add in a few walls, but we're going to flip them inside out. That's very important here. We can raise them up by 4 in total. We can do this of course for each side of this tower, just like this, and then we'll have a layer of our windows. We can use those normally of course all the way around the building, and then we want to have another layer of walls on top of it, and we want to flip them inside out once again. And then on the very top we want to have a ceiling. Then we can take out our pillar. We can add a half pillar right underneath there just for a snap point that we'll need. And we can also add these half pillars right here on the corner of the tower all the way at the bottom. Then we can take out our full pillars. We can bring these pillars all the way up to the top of the tower. We can do the same thing right over here. And of course, we want to do the same thing here on the other side. So we're just bringing in these pillars all the way to the top. Also here, we can make sure just to fill in the walls the same way. So we want to have them inside out. And we want to have the window right there in the middle. Then we can take out all windows themselves and make sure to fill them all in like that. There we go. And if you really wanted to and you want to utilize the inside of this tower, you can take out this stone wall, make sure to add a ceiling extra in here, and then you can add either a door or a double door so you can access this tower. You could place something down in here. I wouldn't really build anywhere up to there, but if you do this, you want to have the castle trim skin on the half pillar. Change the variance until you get this one, so you have a beautiful detailed piece at the very top of it. Then, of course, it's time to start skinning it. First of all, we'll skin all of these pillars to the castle skins just to get started with the entire thing. Also here, we want to make sure that this pillar actually goes all the way into this building. So we want to change all of those to the castle skin. We can also change the skins here on the inside, except for the one with the window. We can do that for all sides except the window. We can skin them all to the castle skin all the way round. There we go. Then, of course, we want to change a few variants for this entrance. I probably would go for one of these archways just to make it look a little bit nicer. Then, actually, for all of these walls, there's a reason we turn them inside out. We want to make sure that we get this trim here at the bottom of all of these walls, as well as here at the top of all of these walls, just to add a little bit more depth into this tower. And we can do the same thing here at the very top layer. Again, just adding a bunch of detail in. Then we'll take out the courtyard skin and we'll have them on the middle part with the windows to once again create these lovely details. Add in these windows, change them to the stone textured ones all around. And there we go. We've got our tower looking pretty nice, but we also actually want to change these pillars to the round pillars just to give it a little bit more shape and change up these textures a little bit more. So all the way up and down, we want to make sure that we change these skins around. There we go. All the way from top to bottom. Then here at the very top, we want to use the deco skin again. On the ceiling, you'll see it instantly turns this into a lovely tower by itself. But if we then also take out the artifact pedestal, this is why we have the little half pillar there. We can add in our artifact pedestal, use the deco again on the pedestal, and then change the variant. You can pick a number of towers. There's a lot of really cool ones. This one would fit really well. This one would work very well. This one, of course. But I like the one with the little flame. Now you can even scale these up. So if you go to interact with the pedestal, you could even make them bigger. Of course, if you make them too big, it's not going to look very good. But if you want to have them slightly bigger for the towers, you can, of course, maybe go like half bigger. And as you can see, that already looks pretty impressive. But even if you just keep it as is, so just the normal size, is also already pretty nice. But just to show you that there is a lot of options to play around with, and you can see that that little tower really already adds some nice detail to our builds. But now it's definitely time to focus on finishing the rest of the top layer of this build. So now we can take out our pillars, and here on the inside we want to add 3 of them. We can do the same thing over here on this corner, and then on the opposite side we actually want to do something similar. So after the first 3, we want to add 3 pillars, the same right over here in the middle, once again right over here, and we can change all of these, of course, to these castle skins so they get the right look. And this gives us a little bit more structure for these remaining top layers of the build. We'll take out our normal walls. We can shape them up just like this, so kind of an upside down L shape. We can do the exact same thing over here, except that we can do this on the corner since we don't have the tower here. Then we want to have 2 walls here at the bottom, as well as 2 walls here at the very top layer, and we can do the same thing here on the opposite side, so just like that. And then over here we can repeat these shapes. So basically we're framing out where the windows are going to be on all of these different sides. So whoops, we don't want to fill in anything else than these shapes for now. Then we can change to the window frames, add 2 of them to each of these places. There we go. The same over here, the same over there, and of course these in between. We want to have some quarter walls first to fill in the sides of these. There we go. And then we can also add in a window right there in the middle. We can, of course, take out our windows and make sure that we add them into these frames so that we'll be able to make actual windows happen just like that. And then it's time to shape up the front. So to start, we can add 3 walls here to the corners, just like this. And then we can start shaping up the roof. So we want to start with the slope wall like this and then bring it up into the build. So the same thing here on the other side. We can, of course, fill in this layer with our normal walls all the way across. We can have our slope walls going up. Then we can have some quarter walls for all of these. Have a little window right there in the middle before finishing the top of the roof like this. And then if we then take out our skins, we can use the castle skin on most of it except the one down there. We can bring this all the way across to the other side too, and of course skin all of this going across all the way to the top. This one we want to change until we get the nice circle, and again we can add in some stained glass if we like. Then we can take out the trim skins here for these corners. And of course, you could add that little gargoyle as a little bit of extra detail. And that's the shape that we want here on the front. That's of course not all of it, because we want to do the same thing here on the different sides of the building. So again, we're going to shape this up to bring a nice shape for the roof. Of course, here we don't have to do the things to the side. We can bring our walls all the way across here, add a layer of our slope walls or quarter walls, line up the window perfectly in the middle at the window themselves, and of course finally finishing with more slope walls. We can then of course change most of this with the castle skin all the way around the side of this building. There we go. And then of course, once again, we can make a beautiful round window here with some stained glass if we want to. And then this one we change with the trim skin. Change it once so that we get that little detail along the side. And then we also have this side of the building complete. Then we have one more side, of course. We can bring up these walls by 3 just like that. Add in our slope wall. Oops. Let's add those slope walls in the normal way, and there as well. And then of course connect these with another layer of walls, more slope walls to go up. Then we don't need our quarter walls, but just 2 full walls, and we can have more slope walls all the way to the top. So this one is slightly different because we're going to add a few more details in here, but the rest of this we can all skin, of course, except for actually this one here at below. We want to of course use the castle trim skin for that. Change it so we can get the little gargoyle sticking out. And then we actually want to place down a wall sign roughly here in the middle of it all, and then change it with the deco skin so that we get this beautiful clock. You can of course scale this up a little bit so you can make it bigger, so it will actually fill the wall and add some lovely details to it. Then we got a bunch of other walls to skin, of course. We all want to use the castle skins for this and change all of these little side bits so we get the right looks for them. For these, of course, we just want to change to the nice windows, and then I chose those ones there. And then we want to have some bigger windows over here, so we want to go through all of these options so that we can get some nice big windows just like this, and of course add the actual windows to them. But then we can add a beam underneath the window with the deco skin, and you can see that adds like a little balcony, which is a lovely detail. So we can do the same thing over here, add that little detail just because it looks so nice. And then of course change all of these skins again to the castle skin so we can get the right look going here too. And again, we want to change these different window shapes. I think I didn't pick the right one. I want to have the one with these lovely details. And of course here we can make another one of these tall windows, so like that. And then the same one here at the bottom. There we go. We can add in the windows themselves, and we have another lovely window on this side. And of course here at the back we want to do a similar thing. We first of all want to have the beam here at the bottom of all of these windows, and we can change this entire wall to the castle skin. So from one side to the other we can change them all so that we then can make sure that they all look the right way all the way across the back here. There we go. And then of course we can be sure to change all of these variants so that we get our windows looking exactly the way we want them to. There we go. That's one big window ready. And that's gonna be another one right over here. Change, of course, the glass inside. And then just 2 more to go. Changing the shapes until we get these beautiful big windows all the way across the back of our building. There we go. Just the last one here. And change the glass too. And of course, add the deco skin on these beams for the little balconies. And then we have pretty much the shape of the build ready, and it's time to get working on the roof itself. So it's time to take out our roofs, and the best is to start here at the very end of it all. We can bring up this roof all the way to the very top. We can do the same thing as far as we can, but of course here they're gonna meet up in the corner. So we're just gonna build towards the corners for these separate layers and make sure they meet up. Then we can use the corner pieces to fill in those remaining gaps to give the right shape to the roof. And we can of course do that for each side of the building. So once again, we'll build this all out in the right shape. Same over here. Just filling it all in. There we go. And of course, adding in 4 corner pieces throughout this all. There we go. That's the front of the building. Pretty nice looking already, but we want to have a little edge here. So we're going to add some of these quarter roofs along the front just to give it a little bit more depth in general. And you can change these with the skin to a narrow one, but I actually wouldn't do that just because then we can have a nicer railing at the top. But what we can do is change it all with the castle skins to these right nice dark roofs, which will look really nice already. But of course we want to do the same thing here on the opposite side too, and change all of these all the way along. There we go. Then we want to actually change a little bit. So we want to go right here and we can add some variants. As you can see, some dormers. Really nice window right over there. We can do the exact same thing over here on this side. Get that nice big dormer in there, which will really break up the windows, which will really help break up the roofs and just add a few extra details to it. Then we also want to take out our railings, and all the way across the top of the roof we want to be sure to add them in like this. We can do the same thing over here, going across to the other side. And of course, also here to the front of the building. We actually want to have a half railing at the very end so that it meets up with the top. We can do the same thing actually for these sides, even though we haven't added the details in there yet, just to make it easier right now. And then we can change all of these to the castle trim skins. Looks really weird for now, but again, we're going to change those variants to be the nice spikes, and then it's all going to make a lot of sense. So of course we want to change all of these. Again, we want to make sure that flip it around so it sticks out the right side. And then all of these, of course, we want to change to these lovely spikes on top of our roofs, because that just really helps with the Gothic feeling vibe of our buildings. So we want to do that for all of these, all the way across the top of your roof. So there's a bunch of variants to change, but in the end, it will definitely be worth it all. So we just want to slowly move across the roof from one side to another, so that we get all of these right variants in place. And of course, these ones we want to flip so it sticks out on the right side. And then we can keep this going on this side of the roof too, of course. Change it all to those nice spikes all the way across from one side to the other. There we go. Making sure, of course, that the spike picks up to the right side. And there we go. We've got this pretty nice looking now. We want to then also add in these final details. Almost forgot about those. We can, of course, change the skins of those as well. We'll do the exact same thing here on the opposite side. We can bring this along the side of the building. And, of course, technically, this would expand a little bit further. So if you want to, you could add this just so that it feels that this tower is even more part of the building than it is already, because it kind of feels like the roof continues. And once we've done that, of course, we still want to do the back of the building as well. So first of all, we can bring these quarter roof pieces along the outer edge here. We can do the exact same thing here on the opposite side of the building, making sure that we add those in all across. We can take out our roofs, of course, and make sure to fill in the rest of the roof with relative ease, as long as you don't misplace them like I'm doing. And we can just fill in the back of the building like this. So there's nothing too complicated here, of course, not like the front. So we just want to go across and fill this all in from one side to the other. And there's definitely something to be said for, you could add another layer inside of here if you really needed the space. I haven't done that, so if you want to do that, you'll have to do that yourselves. But there's definitely a little bit of extra room if you need a few extra separate spaces from the main big rooms that we've got so far. So yeah, we want to just skin these all with the castle skins, of course, to create our roof in place right now. There we go. And then above this window here on the side, of course, we want to make sure to get the big dormer. We want to do the same thing right over here, get another big dormer, and then here we want to add the small one and another small one there. So we still break up the roof a little bit, but add a little bit of variation to the back of the building here. And then one final detail that you can add here on this tower, which is quite nice to do, is a little bit of a gargoyle. So we want to add a trophy here. Then we can add the deco skin on top of it, and then you can pick whatever gargoyle you like. And of course, these as well, you could actually scale up a little bit. So if you want it to be a little bit bigger, you could go for that. But it definitely will add a little bit of extra character to an already really cool looking build. And with that being said, you can see we've managed to build a beautiful looking Gothic manor using these Gothic Craft cosmetics, which offers you a beautiful home fitting of this Gothic style with some beautiful big windows, nice arches along the outside here. Yeah, with just some really nice looking build in my opinion. You've got a little bit of room to walk around here, maybe park some creatures out front here if you wanted to, and inside you've got a few rooms to work with. You've got this room that you could park your tames if you want to be a bit safer. This could be a little bit of a kitchen as well as a bit of storage, or you could have here some of your crafting stations, because even bigger things like a replicator or a industrial forge should be able to fit inside. And then of course here on the top you've got even more space for all of your own needs. And as I said, it's quite easy if you want to add another floor here at the top layers, but that is totally up to you. Yeah, there we go. That is how you build this Gothic mansion. I had a lot of fun playing around with these skins and getting to this design, so hopefully you'll enjoy this build as well. And as always, if you enjoy seeing these build tutorials and you want to continue to see more, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and feel free to leave your suggestions for future builds you'd like to see down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next video or the next stream. For now, goodbye.